All right, Dolphins fans, playing with a compromised offensive line is once again in our future here as we enter week 6, Dolphins Panthers. Today, we're going to do our final preview and prediction video. In that, we're going to talk about those latest injuries. We'll talk latest team news. We've got some viewer submitted questions that we've been accumulating throughout the week that we're going to get to. And then obviously, we're going to end with that final score prediction. But before we jump into any of that, couple of things for you. One, if you haven't gotten subscribed yet, make sure you are doing so. Two, your final score predictions. I want to see if we can get someone to nail it on the head again. Go ahead. Let's load up that comment section with a bunch of Dolphins wins. Let's see who can get the closest to that final score as well. Quick pat on the back real quick as well before I jump in. Last week, I had the Dolphins beating the Giants 31-17. If you remember right, the score was 31-16. Now, I'm not saying I'm likely going to get that close on the score again, but spoiler alert, if my team that I predict to win this game wins, I think a lot of you are going to be happy out there. So like I said, drop your final score predictions in the comments. Let's carry on the conversation there leading up to game time. As always, I talked about the injuries, the offensive line playing a little bit compromised this week. We'll start right there. As always, the full injury report is going on the scroll, but like we talked about, Connor Williams, unfortunately, already ruled out. I'm recording this Friday afternoon, already ruled out for Sunday's game against the Panthers, which all signs pointing towards Liam Eichenberg then starting at center. Now, if you're looking, we're all concerned. There's no getting around that. But if you're looking for a little bit of a silver lining, see that questionable tag right there? That Derek Brown questionable tag for the Carolina Panthers is their best interior defensive lineman. So if you're hoping that there's a little bit of a case out there that maybe we're not completely screwed by having to start Liam at center, we can potentially bank on Derek Brown if he does play, not being 100%. So like I said, we're kind of stretching at this point in time when we have to play a guy like Liam Eichenberg. But at the end of the day, if there is a little bit of a silver lining, it's that one of the Panthers' best interior defensive linemen is listed as questionable for this game. Jeff Wilson is listed as doubtful, meaning his debut is likely on hold. Obviously, practicing earlier this week opened his 21-day window for him to be placed on the team's active roster. We'll likely not see him in this game. The fact that he's being listed as doubtful, but I have a feeling that his elevation is probably coming sooner rather than later. Another person whose window has been opened is Robert Jones. However, he's listed as questionable. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. Possibility he would get elevated to the active roster. So keep an eye on that as well. That'd be nice to have some reinforcements back on that offensive line. And then the weekly update on Jaelan Phillips is listed as questionable, like I said, as of Friday right here. If he can't go, I think we all know what to expect at this point in time. It'd be more Andrew Van Ginkel on the edge. When Phillips was healthy, we saw more Andrew Van Ginkel playing a little bit of that middle linebacker. I think we all want all three of these guys, being Van Ginkel, Chubb, Jaelan Phillips, see what that defensive end rotation is like, the edge rotation is like, throwing Ogba in there as well. We've got the bodies. We just got to get Jaelan Phillips healthy and then see what they do with Andrew Van Ginkel moving from there. But like I said, we will learn more about that as we get closer to game time. But let's jump in with the questions. First and foremost, thank you once again to everyone that submitted a question. I try to get to as many as I can each week while keeping the video a relatively not super lengthy time. I don't want to eat up your entire day. Continue to go ahead and throw your questions in each week whenever we do the videos like this. We'll get to as many as possible, but let's get into the first run. With the Carolina Panthers being a much lesser opponent, what new or different things would you experiment with? And would you sit Connor Williams, Jaelan Phillips? Now, we already kind of got a part of an answer to that one with Connor Williams being ruled out. But honestly, I'm not trying to do too much different in this particular situation. It feels weird to say this because the Panthers are the only winless team in the NFL. This game kind of has like a survive and advance feeling to it with how banged up we are, with how compromised that offensive line can be when Connor Williams is out. It almost feels like, let's survive. We got to obviously get this win. We're the better team on paper. We can't have a letdown. You see that it's Philly, it's the Patriots, it's the Chiefs. We got to get right for those guys, but just survive in advance. Don't have any more damn injuries. So what I would do is, just like I said in the first preview video this week, which if you haven't seen yet, go back and check that one out. I would try to play against Carolina's weakness, and that's their run defense. And then if you can do that, if you can establish the run game, you can have success with the run game, I think Tua becomes even more of a weapon in that passing game as the Panthers really try to key in on Mostert and the run game. Now, going back to kind of like, would you experiment with stuff? I understand why against this team you would experiment with some things, try to see if some things stick. But like I said, with Eichenberg likely getting those starting center reps, survive in advance. Let's not do anything crazy. Don't stray too far away from the norm. In regards to sitting those guys, obviously, we want to see both, especially Connor Williams. Andrew Van Ginkel has filled in perfectly fine for Jalen Phillips. Not saying we don't miss Jalen Phillips, but Connor Williams' absence is felt more so far at this point in time. So I think we just got to lean on what the Dolphins have been doing, and that's keeping that long game in mind when it comes to the team's injuries. Now, with Connor Williams being out, especially after playing the entire game last week against the Giants, you almost think like, did they rush him back too soon? Now, Mike McDaniel did say in his media availability that he didn't get re-injured. It wasn't anything like that. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, why did he play all of last game and now he's already ruled out on Friday? We can look into that as well, but I'm just saying, like, if these guys are injured, get rest. Let's get ready for Philly. Survive in advance. For how bad that sounds, survive and advance. Next question. The next three opponents all feature former Alabama quarterbacks: Bryce Young, Jalen Hurts, Mac Jones. If you could have your pick between Tua and any of them for the future, which former Alabama quarterback are you taking? Thanks, John, for the question. Mac Jones is ruled out. He's not in the same stratosphere. I like Bryce Young, but I can't have him in the same class as Tua and Hurts right now. So my debate would probably be between them. But with the way the Dolphins offense is set up, with having Mike McDaniel as the coach, which doesn't necessarily call for a lot of mobility from the quarterback position. I'm not saying the offense couldn't evolve to something like that, but as of right now, you're relying on a quarterback that's accurate, timing, smart with the ball. And that's Tua Tagovailoa. Mike McDaniel has said it himself, like, this guy is the perfect quarterback for this system. So no slight to Jalen Hurts whatsoever. I love that what he's been able to do kind of from that underdog role. Tua taking his spot. He transfers. He goes in the second round, kind of plays behind Wentz, comes in and just thrives. Nothing away from Jalen Hurts. I'm a Tua guy. I've been a Tua guy from the jump. I'm not straying on him now. All right, let's go on to the next one. From Benjamin here, will the game against the Panthers present opportunities for Chase Claypool to show his worth for the Dolphins offense? I wasn't 100% sure on this one, so I checked in on Friday. And now, obviously, things can change. Like I said, recording this on Friday. But the last I looked into it, it's more likely that Robbie Chosen is active and up for this game and getting some snaps for this game than Chase Claypool. And one of those reasons, well, a couple of those reasons, Claypool is still relatively new to this team, obviously, and Robbie Chosen has been around a lot longer. So the knowledge of the system and what your responsibilities would be, Robbie Chosen has a leg up on that. Let's also not forget that Robbie Chosen used to play for the Panthers, a little bit of a revenge factor there as well. So like I said, things can change, but it looking like, as of now anyways, Claypool's debut will be put on hold. Let's go to the next one here. RF Gain. Is Liam Eichenberg officially a bust? I'd say first, even if we label him as a bust, we better hope that he can just show up and show enough when he's needed to be inserted in this team's starting lineup. And obviously that's what we're going to see this week. But looking at his, I don't want to say his entire career because things can change, but what we need from him this year, and if we continue to move forward with him on this roster, in a perfect world, it's in a backup role where you don't need to rely on him week to week. But if he needs to fill in for a guy on a random basis here and there, hopefully he can suffice. But here's the deal. We traded up into the second round just a few years ago to take him. You do that, you take a player that high after trading up for him, he's either a day one starter, or if he's not a day one starter, he's a starter in your mind, in your system within a year or two at most. And as of right now, he hasn't really shown what he's going to do that. So yes, to answer your question, I will say so far, it's hard not to label him as a bust, but I will happily eat those words if he makes an Austin Jackson-like turnaround and can somehow surprise us. Let's just start with Sunday. Get it done on Sunday, Liam. Let's start with that. All right, let's go into the prediction. I've got the Miami Dolphins 35-14. Like I said, I think you're going to be happy with at least who I have winning this game. Score be damned. I did originally think it was going to be Dolphins 42-14. I backed it down by a touchdown. Couple of reasons, Connor Williams being one of them. And if the Dolphins can just get a lead, like I said, hopefully you get a lead early. And I don't want to say go into cruise control, but for lack of a better term, just rely on that run game. Let's not put Tua in these situations where he can be compromised, being more vulnerable to some of these hits. I know that's not how he's been necessarily injured in the past, but less hits equal more opportunities for you to be healthy. End of the day, Panthers are winless for a reason. They're below average on everything offensively, and the only thing that they're statistically pretty solid at, they're sixth in the league in pass defense. If you can run the ball, run and run and run and stay committed to that run, you're going to be able to take some advantages with that sixth-ranked pass defense as well through that play action. And obviously, it hasn't really mattered what defenses rank against the pass on us. We have our way with these kind of defenses. Sure, we struggled with the Bills. You're going to have that. We always struggle with the Buffalo Bills. But at the end of the day, you get it done on the ground. You can try to get Bryce Young to create a turnover or two, not create, but actually commit a turnover or two. Hopefully we can get ahead early in this one, rely on that ground game, not have to worry about Liam Eichenberg. I don't want to say blowing the game for us, but at the same time, like not being a liability on the offensive line. Like I said, I hate saying the word survive in advance, but that's been the theme that's been in my head, especially after the Connor Williams news came out. So that is what I've got. That is my prediction. But like I said, I want to hear from you. Drop your final score predictions in the comments. Let's carry on the conversation leading up until game time. I'll be back with the game recap. But until then, Miami Dolphins fans, fins up.